It's another choking Thursday night. No, I do
Well,
not have the Mexican beer virus. Um,
mm,
I am quite capable of choking on my own spit without it. It's another Thursday night. Welcome to Real Monsters. I'm your host, S.K. Barrett. Joining me, as always, the lovely, the talented Wes Hobrick.
hello, hello, hello.
And we have, you know, it's almost we keep saying, so this is gonna be a strange one, but that's like every week almost.
Yeah, yeah, it certainly seems so.
Um, this is this is modern day cannibalism and not fiction.
Nope, this is ripped from the headlines
Yeah. Oh,
back in 2001.
but first I forgot to ask, do we have some history to go over?
Yeah, I got a little bit of things in the news here. Kind of interesting. Our show last week was all about stupid deaths.
Right?
And right after we aired that one, there was a guy who died after his rooster attacked him on the way to a cockfight in India.
Wow.
Which the one that we had talked about on the show,
Right?
the guy got his, I believe it was his femoral artery slashed
No,
by a razor.
I thought you said it was his carotid. He
Oh, maybe it was.
he held the rooster up to his face, and the rooster roundhouse kicked him with his razor blades.
Apparently, the same thing happened here, but this guy had his jugular slashed by the blades on the bird's
Wow.
feet. So, good riddance there, definitely. Uh,
Rise of the roosters.
take the power back.
Yeah.
But let's see, pastor in North Carolina charged with more than 100 felony sex crimes against children.
Jesus.
That guy, in fact, was a contributor to Alex Jones's website for a long time too. Infowars.
Shock.
Yeah, nuts.
And by
Uh,
shock, I mean not shock.
uh, yeah, this other headline, it was so weird. It's just so bizarre. I didn't know what to think about it. But a driver was stuck by a hypodermic needle hidden under a pump at an Alabama gas station. Somebody put it in there and taped it there.
So for real, because there's a lot of urban legends about shit like that, but this really happened.
Yes, this is on our page
Mm.
from their local news station, WHNT.
Mm.
Yeah, whenever I have something up there, I always go for the best source that we can grab.
Yeah.
The one that's closest to the news that happened. It almost kind of struck me like the Tylenol poisonings, that same sort of psychology at play. People
Yeah,
who just
except
want to.
except almost every gas station has pump cameras nowadays.
Well, that's true.
They should have some clue what's going on, who did it.
There. Yeah, I'll definitely keep the eyes open for that, and we'll update if we see anything. But oh yeah, the wheels got stolen off of a Corvette Stingray test vehicle when somebody parked it in Detroit.
Well, okay. Well, there's so many things wrong with that statement.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, obviously they're going to test it, and this is for those of you who don't know. One of the things the car companies do is they will cover their car with like paper or plastic to hide identifying elements of it. So you'll have
Oh,
like just the windows and lights visible, and so
oh.
so that they can drive it around town and not have people snapping pics and say, "Oh, here's the upcoming model of whatever."
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure parking it goes against the rules.
I would think so. Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna guess somebody is in the unemployment line today.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so with something like that.
And
If I were
why
their
didn't the
boss, yeah.
tire thieves rip the paper off and take pictures of it and break that news. Oh, but then they stole the tires, so there would be that.
Well, and you always get that effect anyway. It's newsworthy, in and of itself when they took the tires on that, and that gets the pictures out. But yeah, I don't know whose bright idea that was, but I bet they're
Yeah, oopsie.
smack in the
Stopped
head.
for a booty call and ends up losing the job.
Oh, let's see. Nicki Minaj's brother sentenced to 25 years to life for child rape.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Um, oh yeah, federal prosecutors are um I'm not sure if they're serving a particular type of legal paper. I don't know how you would do it in this case, but federal prosecutors in New York have asked to interview Prince Andrew as part of the Epstein probe.
Yeah.
Probably not going to get much out of that. But
Nope. Um, yeah, because all they've got is, I mean, the Queen's just got to say, I don't think so.
yeah, pretty much. Uh, let's see. Oh yeah, Woodland, California. That was January 28th. A father arrested in the killings of 5 of his infant children over about 20 to 30 years. This was another case that was solved with
That's,
the DNA, with the
man,
new DNA
you
things.
don't hear about dads having, I mean, if a father kills their kids, it's usually a spree and not
Hmm.
like this. This sounds a lot like Munchausen's or some variation of that, right?
Well, that could be up until he killed them, but in Munchausen, you don't see the body disposal like they did here.
Right.
This guy, he literally, one of the infants was beaten to death. He literally put the body in a plastic tub, weighed it down with rocks, and dropped it in a lake. There
Wow.
was a fisherman who was spearfishing for carp at the time, and he accidentally hit the box and brought it out. And let's see, that was about 10 years ago, and then they added it to these
How do you
others, I
explain
guess.
these kids just disappearing?
Good question. I don't know. Definitely something we'll keep up with during the
Yeah.
trial, though. Um, oh, yeah, high profile murder case hinges on an alibi involving a googly eyed grocery store robot named Marty in Connecticut.
You
I
know,
guess,
the surveillance state can giveth and the surveillance state taketh away.
yeah, Michelle Troconis was arrested earlier this month in connection with the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos, a Connecticut woman who went missing in May. Troconis was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, and part of her alibi for the day of Dulos's disappearance involves a trip to a Simsbury, Connecticut stop and shop where Troconis said she took a photo with Marty, the googly eyed cleanup assisting robot that roams the aisles of hundreds of stop and shop stores.
Hmm.
I have never been to that chain.
I've never heard of it. No.
Yeah, me neither until then. But let's see. I thought we had one more item here. Oh yeah, this guy was pretty legendary. In Tennessee, guy gets arrested for pot possession and lights up his joint right in front of the judge in the court.
It's so hard to tell. Is he, a gutsy genius hero or just an idiot? It's
Yeah.
such a fine line.
well, yeah, the effect I guess is the same no matter what caused him to do
No,
it.
I'm not guilty.
Making a statement. Oh yeah, a woman stabs her attacker in the head with a box cutter and chases him after he tries to rape her.
Yay, good
That was
job.
pretty awesome. Yep. I think that is all we got for this week.
This week in crime history, brought to you by Weirdos Everywhere.
Yeah. uh, they giveth and they keep on giveth in.
All right. It's time to make our warning. We don't have to do this every week, but goddamn, we sure do today.
Yeah,
This is
we
some
definitely do.
weird, disturbing shit and some very graphic images. So if you're bothered by that stuff, what the hell are you doing here?
Yeah, that is a good question. Some of these stills are from an actual video of a human being butchered and torn apart for his meat, literally.
Yeah,
Cannot get much more literal than that. But people may have heard about this case. This was the Cannibal of Rothenburg in Germany. Happened in 2001, where a guy quite literally solicited somebody that he could eat online, and there was somebody who answered that call. The murder itself, if you can call it that, the killing, happened on March 9th, 2001,
yeah.
with Armin Meiwes, age 39, a computer technician. He had a really interesting childhood. When you get into this, there's so many parallels with Ed Gein's childhood specifically. But he grew up in a small town in the heart of West Germany, Wüstefeld. And this town was so tiny. There's only 25 people in it.
Wow.
And Armin's house was one of seven. It's a 40, although it's weird. I was looking at some of the sources here, and the estimation of the number of rooms varied from like 36 to 44.
So they could have fit the whole damn town in the house.
Oh, yeah. It was gigantic. And the house itself was about 700 years old on top of it. Um, they had bought it initially as a retreat when they were living in Essen, Germany, which also isn't far.
Wait, hold on a second. I have to look something up because I think Essen means to eat.
Yeah, it does. It does, actually. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it
That's
does.
hilarious.
Oh, my. Yeah, they moved out there, and they had three kids, and Mrs. Mavis, her name was Valtraud, had been married three times. Her other two children were from the first marriage, and then Armin was the only one by the second marriage.
Okay.
Um, it kind of made me think through that. If that dynamic wouldn't be somewhat close to what we see quite often with adoption, where we see that has messed quite a few of these people up. But
Yeah, people
I,
get people get really weird about, who's my kid, who's not my kid, but who's not my biological kid, and
mhm,
what the hell difference does it make?
yeah,
It's this is now the family. Just accept
oh
everyone.
yeah,
Jesus, it's not that complicated.
oh, I completely agree. I was just bringing that up
No,
because I
no.
wonder if it is close to the adoption thing that we see. But
Well, adoption or not, there's somebody's the stepkids.
yeah, yeah, you kind of get that sort of unconsciously with the parents,
Yeah.
you know, showing favor to one or the other. But yeah, Armin's father left when he was 8. And there's a rather sad story going around with that.
Yeah.
Armin recalled playing in the garden by the house with one of the only other boys in Wustefeld, and he heard the door slam on their manor. And his dad just walked out to the car, got in there, drove away. And poor 8-year old Armin is running after him and, begging him to turn around. Um,
Wow.
not saying that we should necessarily sympathize with these guys, but with stories like that, it's kind of hard not to,
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah, you know, everybody lives through traumas of one kind or another, varying degrees, and most people don't end up eating somebody over it, or killing somebody,
Correct.
or raping, or kidnapping, or torturing, and all this bullshit that people
Hmm.
do to each other. Some do though.
Yeah, and it's interesting to look at why those some do. But
Yes, yeah, yeah. Oftentimes, um, there's less gray matter in the hippocampus,
yeah,
for
oh yeah,
example. Um,
on on the physiological side,
right.
definitely.
Plus, in a lot of these cases, there's not just one trauma, but a
Hmm.
long litany.
Yeah, and that's that's the thing with Armin. It can be kind of hard to find some of those others
Hmm.
that diverge from this theme that sort of started when his dad left, which was loneliness. Um, Profound, deep loneliness. His two brothers left not long after his dad, and that,
They were considerably older, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and that left just him and Valtroud, his mother, in the house. And she was dictatorial, put,
No.
putting it nicely.
What?
She would require and would make Armin wear traditional old fashioned lederhosen to school every
Oh,
day.
man. Ouch.
Yeah. And then she would also quite often reprimand or admonish him in public too. Her favorite words there were calling him worthless and then calling him Männchen, which is a term used for a girl in the German language.
Yes.
Um, so you get into all that, and as he grew up, he his relationships were, of course, very often highly regulated by her too. But it was around this time as well that he sort of discovered cannibalism. It was first not just in the Robinson Crusoe, like we were talking about,
Hmm.
but it was actually just a bit before that. It was Hansel and Gretel that fascinated.
Oh, and not just that story, but there are plenty of fairy tales about eating children, which were used, they were intended to scare children,
Yep,
when they were originally created, because bad things did go on in the woods, and maybe not, cannibals, but plenty of wild animals, and just plain getting lost and shit like that.
yep,
Um, so scare the kids to not wander off.
yep. And that was in huge part their purpose. But that fascinated him, and then he read Robinson Crusoe when he was 10. And I guess the part in there is Robinson saves his friend from the cannibals. I've never read it.
Oh, Man Friday, right?
Yeah.
You know, he was. I think he wasn't a friend, but another castaway, or he was. Um, he might have been a castaway, but from a different ship, or somebody he found on the island. And I'm basing this on movies that I've seen, movie versions.
Hmm.
I don't remember exactly um, where the other guy came from, but yeah, saved him from the cannibals. Yes,
And they basically became close after that,
right,
right?
right.
Okay.
Yeah, they became
That's
a
where I
team.
that's where I
Oh, so
was
so look what that does in little uh, Armin's
Armin's
brain,
mind.
right?
Yeah, and
A
that's where I
cannibal
was
bring you friends.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was the association there, just like that, or if he was sort of identifying with the bad guys too. So I think that it's kind of up in the air,
Yeah.
but as we'll see, he really wasn't that much of a sadist. But yeah, I mean, after.
I mean, just to poke at that a little bit more, you know, he could have had, just, he probably wasn't very old anyway, maybe a preteen or a teen when he read that book.
Hmm.
And the wires get kind of jumbled up, the signals, ooh, cannibals, ooh, these two became friends, ooh, cannibals made friends, cannibals mean friends, it's not a huge leap to
Hmm.
go from, cannibals made these two guys buddies to, cannibals are friends or something like that.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I totally agree there. And that's where you get into looking at this further. That's also when the fantasies started for him,
Hmm.
where he wanted to eat his friends to keep them with him, as he said, where they would never leave me.
Right.
Uh, and it's kind of weird. At that same time, he also started a imaginary friend that he named Frankie. And that was a imaginary younger brother for him
Mm,
that he also had. But he's a very creative, very fantasy driven guy. He also would often create and write down his own fairy tales.
really
Um, yeah, yeah, and
fascinating.
it's how he occupied his time.
I never
Um,
had imaginary friends. It never even occurred to me to make up, some imaginary friend. It just, hell, the house was crowded enough.
well, I mean, when you have a 40 some room manor house and
Well,
nobody your age to share it with.
think about how just the space would contribute to his sense of loneliness. You know,
Oh,
these
absolutely.
endless hallways and rooms and with nobody there. And then the town has almost nobody there. And there's like one other boy in the whole fucking town. And,
Yep.
there's just nothing there for him.
Oh, absolutely. And throughout this time, I mean, as he's getting older, he's also basically his mother's houseboy most of the time.
Sure.
He never really went out or anything. Um, and when he was 18, he joined the army, the West German army, and became a supply officer. But the problem there, where he was stationed, wasn't far at all from
Oh,
his mother in the house.
didn't
So
he?
he
He
ended up
tried to get
living.
away and he couldn't get far enough.
Right, right. And he stayed in there for a long time and he thought maybe I can make this into a career, but his fellow soldiers saw him as a pushover for the most part.
Sure.
And, it didn't really work out for him throughout all that.
Well, he
And,
would have, a lot of times people in that kind of dynamic, they'll go one of two ways. They become either hyper combative with authority figures, or they become very obsequious. Um,
mhm,
you know, Cloying, uh, just yeah, pushovers. Uh, do anything to, keep the peace and garner any kind of positive attention.
mhm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, just his mother's influence, I'm sure, really drove that into him. Um, and also likely laid the seeds for his fantasies of total domination over another person, in the
Right.
act of eating them. Um, But it was around this time as well that his mother became actually bedridden with cancer. So this just laying more
Mm,
on his plate. And he is charged with taking care of her, through most of the day.
right.
And he also takes a job where I guess he telecommuted, working with computers
Okay.
for a bunch of different businesses and institutions there. Um, you know,
What
when
how confusing would that have to have been? Here's this person who he wants love and attention from, who probably never gives it to him, and he resents her to just endlessly, and yet now he's got to take care of her.
oh yeah, absolutely. And he ends up doing that, of course, until she dies in 1999. And through all of this, he's also refining his cannibalistic tendencies, his fantasies.
Mm,
And with the internet, it allows him to sort of understand that there's more people out there like him. And it is with the advent of that, and shortly
hmm
after Valtroud's death in 1999, that he, realizes I can give fuller rein to these desires.
Yeah.
So he starts putting ads out on different forums online, and I screen
Yeah,
grabbed
I've got
a
those.
few of them.
I've got those in a slideshow. Just pull those
Um,
up.
yeah, you could still find it via the Wayback Machine, and if you dig hard enough. But any of them that you see on there, Frankie was Mavis's alias on that forum,
Okay.
and he would often put the ads out for 18 to 30-year-olds typically. And I was just looking for it because I wrote down the
Yeah, here's August 28,
verbatim.
2002. If you are between 18 and 30 years old and have you a normal build body, then come to me. I will butchering and eating your fine flesh. Please email
Mm-hmm.
me your age, height, and weight, and if you can, with a pic. Frankie.
The other one that was on there, I also screen grabbed a couple of the more typical
Yeah.
posts from the forum. Um, yeah, that was one of them. And this one he put up after the murder that he was charged with, which we will be getting into. Because the guy that he killed, burned Jurgen Brandes, who also met him through here, was killed in 2001.
Oh, okay.
And basically, what happened with that was Byrne is a another computer guy, but he's in Berlin. He's bisexual. He had a rather long relationship with a female cabbie in Berlin, and they were going to get married, but then he just up and told her, "I'm gay," and that stopped it.
U-
Um,
Usually does.
yep. Then they interviewed. Well, they took testimony from rather a boyfriend of Burns, who said that he had often offered him 3,300 pounds to castrate him with his teeth, to bite off Burns' penis.
Wait, who made that offer?
Byrne made that offer to the boyfriend, guy by the name of Victor Serrano,
Wow.
and he made it apparently several times. And Serrano, of course, always said, "No, I'm not going to do that." And I don't know how it lasted for a total of 3 years, their relationship, but it managed to. And then Serrano said that, hey, this is what ultimately drove me away. He wants this kind of mutilation too bad.
Hmm.
Um, but Byrne had then found another guy by the name of Rene, who was more level-headed, um, according to the people who interviewed him. Um, but Byrne, he met Meiwes, and they talk online for a while. And ultimately, he takes a day off of work and heads to the town by Meiwes, a town called Kassel, Kassel, via the train. And in the process, he's clearing all sorts of evidence that this is where he's going from, like his hard drives and everywhere else. And then he's also getting his will ready and leaving everything to Rene
Hmm.
in the process there. And before all that, he had also sent off, or sold off rather, his possessions, most of them, including the sports car that he loved. And I was just pulling this up real quick while we're talking. Here is a transcription of a few of their emails. Now, Brandis went by the alias Kador99. And then you have on this one, Mavis went by Anthropophagus as his alias, which, by the way, means cannibal in Latin.
Oh, does it?
So, yes. Kador99 says, hello, Anthropophagus. Hi, Kador. What do you do professionally that you are up so late at night? Kador, I can't sleep well anymore because of our meeting. Anthropophagus, that's a sensible reason. Yesterday I was incredibly tired. It was a stressful day. Kador99, I'm in telecommunications. Anthropophagus, oh, that sounds interesting. Kador, I believe you. Anthropophagus, I'm looking forward to our meeting. It will definitely be really cool. Kador, I want it to be. I hope it'll be really cool. Are you setting an alarm clock? Anthropophagus, it's only a few days until March 9th. Kador, still, I would have rather met you yesterday and felt your teeth. Anthropophagus, one can't have everything. There's still some time before you really feel my teeth. Kador, I hardly know what to expect. Have you slaughtered a man before? Anthropophagus, unfortunately only in my dreams. But in my thoughts I do it every night. Kador, so I'm the first. You have eaten human flesh before, or you haven't? Anthropophagus, no, you don't exactly find it in the supermarket, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Kador, how do you know if it will taste good to you, or that the blood won't make you sick? Anthropophagus, I'm readying myself with my dreams. Once I was so excited, I grabbed a needle and drew my own blood so I could drink it. Kador, and your blood, it tasted good to you? Antropo. It was quite tasty. Once I was drilling some holes and the drill slipped right into my hand. That was a real treat. Blood is the juice of life. It contains everything a person needs for nutrition. Kador, then I hope you won't wilt, that you can really see it through without a problem. Anthropophagus. To bite into your penis will certainly not be easy. Living flesh is somewhat more resistant than fried, but one thing is certain, our dream will be fulfilled. Hador, but there's not much in it as there is in muscle. Anthropophagus, yeah, but the penis is principally a spongy material filled with blood. Hador, for both our sakes, I hope that's true. I hope you have also already thought about what's to be done with the rest. Fulfilling the dream shouldn't become a nightmare for you. No one will know where I've disappeared to. Antropo, after you're dead, I'll take you out and expertly carve you up. Except for a pair of knees and some fleshy trash, skin, cartilage, tendons, there won't be much of you left. Kador, there will be a good bit like the knees. I hope you have a good hiding place for them. Antropo, I'll dry out the knees and grind them up soon after. Kador, okay, they're good as fertilizer. I heard that once. I see you've thought about it. Good, sounds like I'm the first. Antropo, and you won't be the last, hopefully. I've already considered catching a young person from the street, but I would rather kill only those who want to be killed. Kador. That also doesn't sound bad, but yeah, seeing as it's not so totally legal, this is in my eyes better than yanking somebody directly off the street. Antropo, exactly, I'd do it if it were legal. So, yeah, that little convo
That's
I think gives a good
how
window.
it's chilling how casual they are about the whole thing, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was published in Harper's magazine.
Wow.
Drop it in the chat. But yeah, I mean, that's how they were planning it, and March 9th is when they met. And firstly, what they do was Mavis picked him up from the train station, and then they went and got a bottle of painkillers, schnapps, and a bottle of cold and cough medicine.
Hmm.
And they go back to the manor and they have sex, make some coffee, and then it was actually Brandes who started getting cold feet about the whole thing. And he says, "Take me back to the train station." But in the process, he downs the schnapps, the cold medicine, and the pain meds.
Oopsie.
Yeah. And then he looks at, and then according to Mavis, Mavis says um, said, "Take me back. Let's try it again."
Oh.
And
S-
if you believe that, I mean, is there a
You know
question of
what?
whether he talked him into it under the influence of that? Yeah, he might have.
I mean, it's plausible that somebody would have second, third, fourth thoughts about going through with it.
Oh, absolutely. But then you introduce the mind altering substances in, and you can't exactly consent to,
Mm.
much of anything.
Yeah, it depends how long after, how much time has elapsed.
Well, I mean, it was a good amount of time. But yeah, anyway, they go back, and Mavis had built a slaughter room into the house. It was soundproofed and it had a system of pulleys.
Was this his parents' house, the giant house out in the boondocks?
Yes,
Ah,
the
perfect,
manor,
right?
the manor house. Yep. Um, but yeah, he built that room with the bondage cross, the St. Andrew's cross, and pulleys and meat hooks and all this stuff in it. And he took Brandy's in there when he was damn near out cold from everything. And they tried to sever his penis, and he wouldn't do it when he tried biting. It just,
Couldn't get
wouldn't
through
come
it.
off.
Yeah.
Right. So he goes and he gets a knife and severs it. And after that, he ends up cutting it in half and trying to feed half of it to Brandis. And Brandis
Lorena Bobbitt could
complains.
have told him to use a knife.
Yeah, yeah, she could have helped him refine his technique, but yeah, Brandis ended up complaining that it was too tough, that he couldn't chew through it.
Wow.
So Mavis takes the what's left of it downstairs and he cooks it with garlic, salt, and pepper, and Brandis's own body fat to try to fry it. But it ended up just burning it to nothing, and he fed it to his dog after. So, meanwhile, Brandis is up there just bleeding out in this room, and Meiwes ends up taking him and moving him to a bathtub to make the cleanup a little bit easier. And he basically just lets him sit there for about 3 hours and goes downstairs, watches a Disney movie, and then starts reading a Star Trek novel.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just letting him bleed out slowly,
Yep.
not adding any you know artery cuts or anything.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope, not yet. It was after the 3 hours when it was into the next morning and he noticed that he was still alive that he took a knife and stabbed him 8 times in the throat. And that's ultimately what killed him.
Interesting.
And from there is where he gets into the actual dismemberment part of it all. And that gets into the pictures that we have.
Yeah,
Because all
yeah.
of this,
They'll be coming
all,
around.
all of this was videotaped by Meiwes. The entire thing. And he even got Brandis's uh, consent on the video beforehand,
Oh,
saying, I want to be eaten. And that's what really stymied so much of the progress with this in court when they finally arrested him. But we'll get to that. Um, there you see where he bisected him and drained what blood was left into the bucket below.
wow. So, from a
So,
legal perspective, I think the mistake he made is not having the victim commit suicide.
yeah, I mean, that is what they tried to argue with the first trial of it, that he was just basically an accessory to euthanasia for Brandy's. But
But he wasn't.
no, no, that whole thing kind of falls apart. But
It falls apart when he stabs him in the neck.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's that part, and then it, to me, the definition of euthanasia is somebody who, when you know they're of sound mind,
Hmm.
has said, I want to be killed if I'm in X state.
Right,
You know, if I'm a vegetable or if I have an incurable disease. And
right.
Brandis, it's pretty clear to me that he's been suicidal for a long time. I would think. You know, even if he was very adept at hiding that from his friends and his family, I he, I would argue he just wasn't in the right mind to consent to anything.
Well, yeah, that's a tough call though, isn't it?
Eh?
I
I
mean,
mean, it
he this had been going this they didn't just meet in a pub and decide to go upstairs and, you know, get killed and eaten. This was an
right,
ongoing thing over quite a bit of time. This was not a
right,
spur of the moment event.
right. I
And
mean, they knew, each other.
yeah, and he had, he had to travel a significant distance just to get there. There's a lot of opportunities, and he claimed, he even admitted that he changed his mind a couple of times. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so, so, on the, and so maybe he was capable of consenting, or but you could also at the same time argue that anybody who would consent is not in their right mind.
Right. That yeah, I mean, it gets closer to that. I mean, it's almost like saying that somebody who is in inpatient psychiatric care for suicidal ideation is capable of consenting when they're suicidal. You know, and to
Right?
me, yeah, it's just no, that's not accurate. But at any rate, despite all of that, you have again the variable of him being very drunk and very stoned at the time,
Mm-hmm.
which inhibits consent even further. That is Brandy's right there with the glasses, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, Mavis ended up butchering his body, and he actually ate about 44 pounds of them before he was caught.
And how did that come about?
He was caught after he started looking for another victim,
Oh.
which you look at the various screen grabs from the website
Mm-hmm.
that I took, and that was around the time right after when he started looking again. It was about 5 months after he killed Brandes. And there was a medical student by the name of Reinhold who was reading a lot of what Meiwes was saying on the forums, and he looked at this and he's like, this guy is getting into a lot of detail. What he said he did with this other man,
Right.
and I'm pretty sure that this is murder. So what he did was he turned it over to the German police.
Here's the August 18th, 2002 post up on the screen now.
Yep, that was one of them where he
Trying to
was
find the.
sending it out as a lure.
Yeah.
Hmm. And yeah, that's ultimately what caught him. And then with that first trial, that was where they were trying to argue euthanasia. And they were successful for the most part with that, actually. He only got 8.5 years, but he made the mistake of appealing it.
Oh. And
And they
why?
sent
And
it
why?
to,
Why was that a mistake?
oh, that was
It's usually not a. It's usually like a you no lose situation when you appeal something, right?
if you look at the American system, it is.
Yeah.
But over in Germany, he appealed because, again, he didn't believe that he did anything wrong throughout this.
Okay.
And what ultimately happened there was this other court looked at it and said, no, 8.5 years is way too lenient. So they
Oh.
gave him a life sentence. But in Germany, a life sentence typically only means 15 years, and then you're out.
Okay.
But
But
in 2018, Meiwes had lost his bid to um, get parole, basically.
oh.
So he's still in prison, thankfully. I think it's kind of unequivocal that he would probably kill again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But,
if he had never gone after anybody else, he'd still be out there, right?
oh, yeah, most likely.
But he, I was gonna say he got a taste for murder. That's a little bit on the nose.
Well, and he did,
Yeah.
you know, human flesh. And his big thing there, I think, again, was loneliness. He felt, completed
Yeah.
when he would eat somebody. And he even believed that he had taken on Brandis's masculinity from doing that. And no kidding, that he took on his English language aptitude from
Clearly
eating him.
not, judging from his post.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but that concept of acquiring the attributes of whatever you eat, that's a very ancient philosophy.
it
Uh,
is.
um, you see it in Native Americans. I mean, all over the world, you see this kind of thing. Uh, and it's definitely he didn't come up with it. It's been around a long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's something that's almost a cultural universal in a lot of areas.
Yeah. There's also no basis for it in science.
Right, right. I mean, it's just, yeah, essentially,
It's a spirituality kind of thing, mystical. It's a
yes,
mystical concept.
right. Yeah, non-scientific, but still a common belief.
Hmm. And very true in the among cannibal cultures.
Hmm. I was thinking we should do a show on an anthropological look at cannibalism sometime. Be interesting.
Yeah, very true. I mean, you know, the 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 people, the government of New Guinea was finally able. It took a long time, but they were able to convince their local cannibal tribes to give it up because they were getting sick and dying from eating the uh, brain stems and stuff.
Oh man,
Um, and they said, "Look, this is bad for you."
yeah, oh yeah. That's one reason that they theorize that it's taboo in a lot of areas too, is because it can cause that.
Yeah,
If you get like yeah, a disease or a parasite in your brain.
yeah. I think if I remember right, it's kind of a human equivalent of mad cow, kind of a uh, type of disease that you get.
Dang. Yeah, that would suck. Although we should also stress with all this that cannibalism in itself is not a crime.
Even in the U.S.
Even in the US, the best that they could do with something like that is getting the person for murder
Hmm.
or getting them for something like desecrating a corpse.
Hmm.
There is no specific statute that makes cannibalism illegal.
Yeah, we ran
It,
across that in a different case a couple of months ago, didn't we?
oh, did we?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember which one that
Yeah, I
was.
can't remember now either. But I remember
Uh,
now that you bring that up, I remember talking about how that was not a crime that they could catch this guy on.
yep, yep. They have to get them on the more tertiary type stuff to it, like murder or desecrating a corpse, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So, any would-be cannibals out there, don't commit murder in the process of eating someone.
Well,
And don't
oddly
talk about
enough,
it online for fuck's sakes.
uh, oddly enough, that is the reason that Meiwes says he is writing his memoirs in prison to keep people from picking up the fork and knife.
Hmm,
Uh, he has also, according to authorities, become a strict vegetarian.
really?
Hmm.
That sounds a lot like finding Jesus in jail to me, right?
Yeah, for the cannibal equivalent,
Right.
definitely. I guess with most of it, when he chopped it up, he would eat it as steaks, but then he also took quite a bit of it and made meatballs
Oh,
out of
man.
it. Yeah, yep. Cook it with garlic and other herbs and some type of sauce too.
There is a slang term.
Hmm.
I think I heard about it through Archer,
Oh
the
yeah.
show. They call it some cannibalistic tribes, I believe. I mean, maybe it's an urban legend. They call human long pig.
Oh no, that's accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually very accurate. I can't remember where I was reading it when I was doing this research, but yeah, they do.
S-
Oh, and the other pictures in our rotation here of the German police tape in front of the house and the guy in the suit is actually the cannibal cop from Germany.
Here, I can pull
Not to
him
be
up. There.
confused. Not to be confused with the cannibal cop over here who didn't actually do anything.
Right.
Um, Gil, who uh, I don't believe we've told everybody, will likely be coming on our show. No definitive date, but
Nice.
yeah, he said he'd be up to come on for a conversation. But this guy was 2013 over in East Germany in Prussia. That guy. He was arrested for, again, finding a willing victim. But oddly enough, he didn't eat any of them. He just killed him and buried
Oh, well, that's kind of the inexcusable side of the equation.
him. Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you can you can consent to be eaten, and maybe you can get away with, you know, no no charges being filed, but you can't consent to being killed.
Yeah. That is an impossibility. But yeah, it's interesting how all of this had happened when you have the profoundly masochistic, the profoundly self hating, meeting the profoundly lonely.
Yeah.
Just both their pathologies are so weird. But it also gets into a more overarching theme that actually would bring both of them to bear. And that was the theme of what's called vorarephilia. And
Eh,
it's very rarely studied, but it's people who have usually a paraphilia or a sexual attraction to being swallowed whole. Often, some of the sources I saw on this said that it did not involve chewing. Vorarephilia does not involve chewing.
oh, but actually being like swallowed by a giant anaconda or something.
Yeah, a lot of the times it's giant animals, or sometimes it's macrophilia, which is giant people
Mm.
that would be doing it. But there's other sources that say that that chewing distinction doesn't really matter too. But the vorarephilia, it can cover being eaten, but it can also cover the eating side.
Huh.
So I guess it would be kind of a continuum, not unlike sadism and masochism,
Okay.
where you have people who are very strong on one pole of that, but sometimes they might drift more towards the other too. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and is that like, I don't know. I have this sense of swaddling, of being, um, you know, one of the things that people like, people who like to be bound and tied up, they like
Hmm.
that tight feeling of, that feeling of being physically secured. Um, and this
Hmm.
seems kind of related to that, right? Because
Yeah,
you're
actually,
you're completely
um,
surrounded by something very close and very warm.
something close to a womb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there is definitely that. And quite often, vorarephilia will intersect with other paraphilias too, like I said.
Yeah.
But there's also a variant of it that involves just being sucked back into the uterus and the womb.
Hmm.
That is their paraphilia. But as physical boundaries quite often make enacting
Mm.
vorarephilia impossible, what they'll
Yeah.
usually do is go to the internet with text descriptions, stories, drawings, that sort of thing.
The internet is really great for helping people to realize, that the things that they're going through, they're not the only ones. And the downside of that is that it really helps people realize that they're not the only ones going through what they're going through. And, people who do very, very bad things can also hook up with other people.
Yep. And it's a dual-edged sword. There's no doubt about it. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think there is no question whatsoever that Brandy's had variphilia.
right.
Um, and then I guess
Well, I
Mavis, if
mean,
you go with that one definition.
it seems like anybody who would, want to be eaten would have that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's just too bad there hasn't been more study on it. Because, like I said, it's kind of a nebulous concept still because of that.
Sure. Well, I can imagine that it's not exactly easy to come across, you know, subjects to study.
Yeah, where the best you could do is maybe find some on a chat room somewhere
Yeah,
who would be willing to
better hurry
talk
while they're
about it.
fresh.
Yep, absolutely.
All righty. Well, I gotta say that is sounds like our show for this week.
I believe so. I
Uh,
think we beat the hell out of the Cannibal of
v-
Rotenburg.
Very tasty show this week.
uh,
All
oh
right.
my.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.